And what does control look like?
No, Anderson, I have to apologize. When I listened to the tape, I meant to say the spring of 2022, so I did misspeak. And in the conversation with Mary Louise Kelly, she was saying, when do I think we're going to start to get some control? I said, if we can get through this winter and get really the majority, overwhelming majority of the 90 million people who have not been vaccinated, I hope we could start to get some good control in the spring of 2022. I didn't mean the fall. I misspoke. My bad.
Okay. What does control, what does that mean, or what does that look like to you?
Well, to me, that means that you have either the overwhelming majority of the population vaccinated, those who have been infected will have, and have cleared the virus, will have a degree of protection, and we are recommending that those people also get vaccinated, because the degree of protection that you could induce in someone who's been infected, who has then recovered, and then vaccinated is an enormous increase in the degree of protection. If we can do that with the people who've been infected, get them revaccinated, the people who are unvaccinated now, that 90 million people, get them vaccinated, I think we can get a degree of overall blanket protection of the community that as we get into the early part of 2022, getting through the winter, which could be complicated by influenza, by respiratory syncytial virus, that as we get into the spring, we could start getting back to a degree of normality, namely reassuming the things that we were hoping we could do. Restaurants, theaters, that kind of thing. But again, there's a big caveat there, Anderson. This is a very wily virus. We thought we were going to have that degree of freedom as we got into the 4th of July and the summer. And then along comes a soccer punch with the Delta variant, which is extraordinary in its capability of spreading from person to person. So we hope we'll be there at the time frame that I mentioned, correctly being the spring of 2022. But there's no guarantee, because it's up to us. If we keep lingering without getting those people vaccinated that should be vaccinated, this thing could linger on, leading to the development of another variant, which could complicate things. So it's within our power to get this under control.
And what percentage?
And that is to get vaccinated.
What percentage of the population would need to get vaccinated, even if they've had it before, would need to get vaccinated in order to get that kind of control?
Right. Anderson, in all transparency and honesty, we don't know that, because we have not been to the point where we've gotten there, then fell below, and then see the virus come back. We've been there with measles. We know with measles, you get 90+% of the population vaccinated, you have herd immunity. You get to a community like we saw a couple of years ago with the Hasidic Jewish community in New York, they got down below into the 80s and lower, and they had an outbreak. The number could be 90, it could be 85. We don't know what it is. And what I say when people ask me and try to pin it down, you know how you're going to know? Just get as many people vaccinated as you possibly can. And when you get control, that'll be the number.
So today's decision by the FDA most likely will lead to a wave of public and private employers mandating the vaccine. It already is. How much of a difference do you think this will make for vaccination rates? Because my understanding is in Israel early on, it was really when companies started to insist that it was mandatory, then a lot more people got vaccinated. And that's where we get a lot of data from.
Right. Yeah, I think you're going to see two things, Anderson. You're going to see, and the estimate is, and there was some poll that showed it, that about 30% of people who are not anti-vax, they just were waiting to get what they felt was the real final stamp of approval, which we just got today with the Pfizer product. And those 30% are saying when that occurs, they will feel very, very comfortable about getting vaccinated. So right away, you're talking about 30%. I hope they come through with what the survey said. But the other thing that you just mentioned now is they're going to give a lot of incentive and backing for a lot of institutions and organizations and places of employment to mandate. And that could be colleges, university, the military, organizations that employ a lot of people. Some of the big corporations are going to say, If you want to work for us in person, you've got to be there and get vaccinated. And I think that's a good thing. I know I respect people's freedom, but when you're talking about a public health crisis that we've been going through now for well over a year and a half, the time has come. Enough is enough. We've just got to get people vaccinated.